Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tokyo International Film Festival, and this is a masterclass that we're doing here. And we have also had the pleasure of screening Yi, a 1 and a 2. And we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of this film. And we are calling in our guests, Mr. Kawai Shinya and Mr. Ishikawa K. Mr. Kawai Shinya is the producer of the film, Yi, and Mr. Ishikawa K is a director who claims to be an ardent fan of this film. So we hold a little bit of a backstory behind the curtains, but there were so many interesting nuggets of backstories to this film. I don't think we will be able to simmer it down to 1 hour, but we would like to ask our producer. It has been 25 years since the film was made, and it is a film that has been globally celebrated. We were glad to have the 4K restoration, and it is one such film I think that I can leave as my legacy, because it is indeed a film that has been celebrated around the world. And it has been 25 years since the making of this film. I was making film after film after film. And I really had no time myself to reminisce or look back on those days. And but since this is the 25th anniversary, I have brought a lot of reference material. Thank God I didn't throw all these reference materials away, but I think I'm going to share this with you today. There's a lot is in my memory, or maybe I remember 1 or 2 things wrong, so I have brought my notes, or I have brought reference materials with written notes, including, in other words, there was a film by Shunji Iwai, Swallowtail Love Letter. I had the pleasure of producing both of these films, and Swallowtail Butterfly I thought might have global appeal. And it was quite caught a lot of attention in Japan, but it wasn't globally noticed. In terms of Love Letter, in Asian countries, it was a very popular film, and I was wondering why Swallowtail Butterfly wasn't a global success. And when I had some discussions with Iwai Shunji, the director, he mention, or, well, we thought that it might be a good idea to team up with Asian directors. This was around 1998, 1997, 1998. And so going on into the 21st century, I think we said it might be good to show where these Asian filmmakers, where families will go, societies will go in the future. Let's make films motifed after this theme. And so that was the start of all of this happening. And Ishikawa-san, I would like to ask you a few questions. Thank you very much for... And I'm just one fan of the film, but when did our director see this film? It was 1999 or around 2000 that I saw this film. And as we were discussing in the green room, Mr. Kawai had a critics review sheet during Cannes Film Festival in 2000. There was, for example, Dancer in the Dark. So many wonderful films back in the year 2000, all of the films that were entered into Cannes Film Festival. I was still a student back then, I remember. And I was starting to make independent films, self-financed films, and it was a period in which I saw many, many films. This was actually not when I was a film student in Poland. I was in Japan, and so I saw in real time all of the Iwai Shunji films, and I still remember those days very clearly. So we are going to share with you some footage of those days that Kawai-san has shot. Very valuable footages, and these have not been gone through the censors, so this is indeed valuable footages that we're going to be showing you. To reminisce back on those days, I loved Chungking Express. I remember loving Wong Kar-wai's films, and I remember approaching him as a producer. And when I was thinking of who to partner with in 1997, Mr. Shunji Iwai, we had planned a Taiwanese release campaign with Shunji Iwai of his film, and quite honestly, I didn't know many Taiwanese directors, but I knew Ho Xiaosheng, I knew Edward Yang, of course, and Ho Xiaosheng was not available, and since Iwai-san was in Taipei, that's how I initially encountered him. So the initial idea was to do something with Taiwanese directors, but after meeting with everybody, well, the original plan was to do the next Iwai Shunji film and then bring it to all of the A-list film festivals, or the 3 major film festivals at least, we thought. And then we were talking about, let's make something that will make it into competition in the Cannes Film Festival. And the reaction was, yes, indeed, let's do this. So it was not kind of a deeply thought project, but I wanted to go to the Cannes Film Festival, and I was just looking for directors who would maybe get their films into the festival. And I've always liked Wong Kar-wai's work, but I knew that he was a director that was known not to write screenplays, which would be difficult for a producer when you don't have a screenplay to work off of. It's hard to budget a film. Or even if he writes screenplays, he said that he doesn't show it to the producers, and I thought, as a producer, that might be a little difficult to do, and I passed on the opportunity. And when I asked around, people mentioned names like Stanley Kwan and actresses like Michelle Lee, Suu Chi. They were all talking about this director. And Maggie Chan in Berlin, she won the Best Actress Award with his work. So knowing that, I thought, oh, Stanley Kwan would be a great director to team up with. And so there was the Busan International Film Festival, and we wanted to announce the project. This project with Stanley Kwan, Edward Yang, and Iwai Shunji. And we went ahead with the announcement. However, things did not completely come to fruition, unfortunately. Iwai Shunji dropped out of the project, so I was left with 2 international filmmakers. A lot of supporters, financiers did come out to the woodwork to support us, so we went ahead with this project with Stanley Kwan and Edward Yang. And so you, in the end, managed to team up with Edward Yang, though. Yes, well, with Edward Yang, because I knew of his work, but when it came to, I had a little resistance to the idea of, would I be able to make a film on the level of A Brighter Summer Day? I thought this might be very difficult, this might be very ambitious. And the plot that was handed to me was more action-oriented. Shanghai, Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, all of these characters of all these nationalities were included in the screenplay. And so it felt like a very international, diverse story. So this was the kind of script that was drafted initially. And so that's the script, but so it wasn't the project, or the project wasn't a complete idea at first, but it came out of various discussions like that, right? Yes. So the initial, as I said, it was initially 3 directors attached to the project, but then the theme of this project, or this the 3 film project arose. This was around 1998, 1999. As all of you know, or maybe you remember, it was the age of the Y2K. Everybody was very worried about the system failing us, and there was a global fear, paranoia about that. And so that is why we came up. That is how we came up with the project name Y2K.
That's not at all similar to Yu 1 and 2. Exactly. And then Edwin Dan showed US dollars in front of us. And then he said the title should be In God We Trust. And then I didn't have a clue what it was or what he was talking about. But when you look very closely at US dollar bills, in all of the bills and all of the coins, it says In God We Trust. So basically, putting letters that states In God We Trust, or the word God, in money is Westerners thinking. We don't do that as Japanese, but Westerners can't really trust money unless they write the word God in it. And then we thought that was quite interesting. And then we said, why don't we write script based on that concept? And then after that, we said, well, this is not going to be co-creation. And then it's not like we're going to, win or lose. And Edward Yan wanted to participate in competition. And then director Kwan wanted to be in Berlin, and then director Iwai wanted to go to the Venice one, so that we could win all of the 3 major film festivals. And then we might be able to see them having a conversation of that in the video. But we said, well, we're from Asia, so why don't we play rock, paper, and scissors? And then in Japan, we say gu chokipa. So we start with rock, scissors, and paper. In Taiwanese, they have another way to express rock, paper, and scissors. And then when someone selects one symbol, then we can all be winners. We never lose. And then Edward Yan said, okay, I'll go with scissors, so rock, paper, and scissors. And then that's why he titled his original film Scissors. That's what Edward Yang did. And then there are many ways to make a film, and then I sometimes write projects myself, and then I propose what sort of project I'd like to make, and then we had that conversation with each other, and then the director said, okay, so I'll go in this direction, and then when I look at my project document from 25 years ago, director why, when you remember back in those times, we had the incident at Chernobyl, and then people are getting sick from it, and then now Chernobyl is located in Ukraine, and then next to it there's Poland, right? And then the contamination was going to Poland, and then the values of people. So sometimes if you're a man, you couldn't make babies anymore. And then if that's the case, what constitutes a man? So we go quite deep. And then he wrote a script that's kind of based on that. And then he came up with a book called The Garden Guard Guards after several years. And then he said that he wanted to shoot this in Poland. Reflecting back on that, that has nothing to do with Asia or any instance that were happening in Asia. But that was his original idea that he conceived, and then we made that announcement of the project where 3 directors will direct their own films in the project, right? And then Edward was going to make a film based on scissors, and then I think I'm allowed to say this now. So you see the name Takeshi, and then he said that he wanted to make the protagonist be played by Takeshi Kanehiro, and then he was also from Taiwan. He's actually half Taiwanese, half Japanese. His parents are from both countries, and we thought that would be a great match. And Takeshi Kaneshiro will go to different countries, and then he would engage in actions in different countries, and then his agents. His office was located in Taipei, so we went to his agency's office, and then we had a conversation there. And then, there was a lot of incidents happening in the entertainment business, showbiz industry in Taiwan, and that was the case in Japan as well, but things were happening in Taiwanese industry as well. And then Edward Yan said, this is too tough, let's drop this, he said. And then the whole project was dropped because we can hire Takeshi Kaneshiro as the protagonist, and then automatically the project got canceled. So you didn't consider using another actor? No. Actually, you see the name Takeshi as the main character, so I think he's always had this idea of hiring him as the protagonist. So maybe you can direct this, Director Ishikawa. Yes, I mean, this is a project that never came to life. Yeah, I didn't even dreamt of him dying so early. And then when I thought of it, looking back, I realized just how many ideas he had. He was full of ideas, and then I believe that in a couple of days he came up with something that looks more like a script. I mean, this is more like a synopsis, and then he said, well, I don't have a synopsis, and then out of the blue, he brought the script, which I brought with me today. And I thought, I didn't think that he had this idea of making this into a film, and he already had a script, a full-on script, and it's so different. It's so different. It's hard-boiled. Yes, exactly. And I asked him about it, and then so when there was a turn from the 20th to 21st century, I said there are things that change, and on the other hand, there are things that remain unchanged. And then he said that the family, and then ended up portraying 3 generations of family. He said that he wanted to portray elements of the family that change and also elements that remain unchanged within the family. And there are other things that do not change over the years. For example, your first love, and then sometimes you forget other things. And when I read the script, I thought, for the first time that I read it, I thought, okay, so the grandmother dies, and then because of her death, the grandchild, the granddaughter, grows and matures a bit, and then that was my takeaway of the script. And then we didn't ask him to write a certain story from our side. Edward Yan conceived this idea, and then we wanted to pay respect to the idea that he came up with. So, and then, he came up with a script from the very beginning. And then on top of that, we didn't have much lead time. So I just said one word to him. I said, can we go to Cannes with this? Can we win an award with this? And then he said, yes, we can go to Cannes. And then I've never been to Cannes at that time, so I didn't know. Okay, so let's show the clips from your first trip to Cannes. Yes, and then I didn't see this for 25 years. It was just kind of sleeping in my cardboard box. So this is a footage from Cannes. Yes, you shot this, producer Kawai. But director Ishikawa, you went this year to Cannes with your film, yes. So this was shot by you, right? So you see a long length of a touristy video, and then we're going to fast forward that part. And then director Ishikawa, hold on, stop. So you see director Edward Yon himself walking on the street of Cannes, and then it's wobbly because I'm also walking with him.
Little did we know that this is going to be Edward Yang's last film. So we're just casually photographing the director. We see the Majestic Hotel, which is a very famous hotel when it comes to Cannes Film Festival goers, and we do press here like this. Oh, there we have the boy in the film, and then Yang, he's as he appears in the film, the little boy, and then we have the lead actress, yes. There's not that much of a difference how they were in real life and how they were on film, actually. So, yes, this was before the official screening, actually. Yeah, just before. And everybody was very dressed casually. So this was kind of probably a party scene. Oh, there we go. So this was the first official screening. We are inside of the theater of the competition screening venue. And now we notice that there is nobody with a video camera besides me. And we see Asano Tadanobu there. Quite amazing. So it was the first Cannes Film Festival for me, so I really, as a producer, had nothing to do anymore, so I was just there with my video camera. I'm wondering which theater this was. This was probably the main competition. It's a different venue than where the Uncertain Regard films are played. So I think this is while everybody is waiting for the start of the film. And so, as we look at the footage again here, 25 years later, I'm a bit sad to not see myself because I am the photographer. I'm the camera operator here. And I noticed that nobody else had a camera, and I was wondering if perhaps photographing or shooting was prohibited in the theater. It's like, I felt like, oh, I'm now a Japanese tourist with his camera. Like so many Japanese tourists used to do when they were on vacation tours, when they were sightseeing tours. So this was probably in the middle of the term of the film. And we have other very well-known Japanese director. Oh, this is Mr. Sai. Oh, we had that was the year that they screened Gohatto. So yes, obviously shooting was prohibited within the theater. So you would have to, of course, after the film starts, the shooting is prohibited, needless to say. So, but why is the video still running now? Oh, this was this deliberate? Yeah, this is something that you should not be doing, actually. Yeah, I might be arrested now. I'm kind of aimlessly still rolling the camera here. What a precious piece of footage we're looking at right now, isn't it? We still have that same Sansans music as the film opens, as Cannes Film Festival has always done. So here we see the start of the feature. I knew that the feature was going to start, and we have the Pony Canyon logo there as well. Usually you would want to cut here, unless you infringe upon the rules, because copyright rules, of course. And now we jump to after the screening, after the film has ended, and we see a standing ovation. The producer puts down his camera for some reason. Edward came to me to hug me, so I had to put down the camera. I was not able to continue photographing him. And we leave the camera down. It's still rolling. It's still recording. And we see the applause. We hear, not see, the applause of the audience. Very Edward Yang indeed. And this goes on forever and ever, the standing ovation. And I kind of lost sight of my own camera, actually. And this standing ovation goes on forever, but we're going to cut disc one right now. Okay. There are a lot of figures in there in the footage that maybe we cannot show you elsewhere. So maybe we have to burn the DVD afterwards. Okay, so let's play disc 2. Now, this is where, this is also interesting footage as well. Maybe there are some problematic scenes in there as well. Let's see. It was back in those days when the rules were not so stringent. We're not strict. It's so funny that you actually managed not to videotape the standing ovation. Well, right now, I mean, you always have the distributors and the publicists come to these festivals, but now, back then, it was just the producer. So this was the Tokyo International Film Festival at Shibuto Cine Tower 3, October 28th to 2000. So TIFF had also invited this film. And that's Issei Ogata. He's very, very young. He is as he appears in the film. And there's a little bit of audio trouble. So, in 1991 or 92, when he did A Brighter Summer Day, he was awarded an award. So he became very well known in Japan. And Akira Tochigi was serving as the moderator and also the translator. Quite an era. It's back in the good old days, so this was back in the year 2000. So thank you very much. this is a lengthy piece of footage, but there's a lot that we cannot actually show you, so we're going to cut it right here. So it was a long gestation period, and then finally you made Yi. But also some scenes took place in Japan. Was this premeditated? Yes. That was there from the time that the title was titled, quote-unquote, Scissors. And some of you may know this, but he loves Japan. He loved Osamu Tezuka. So it was the director's wish to shoot in Japan. And he wanted to shoot the scene in Tsuruya Hotel. So that was all predetermined, actually. So Edward, yes, had always wanted to shoot in Japan. And there was always going to be a Japanese character in the film, which was ultimately played by Issei Ogata. How did you cast Issei Ogata? Because back in those days, he was not known as a filmmaker. I think it was his stage performances that really garnered attention. Edward Yang, I don't know if this is the correct way to say it, but he really doesn't care about whether an actor is famous or not. Notoriety has nothing to do with his choices. Us producers want to get as popular as possible cast members. And we made suggestions to him, but he did not really nod or show a reaction to all of the suggestions that we made. And that went with everything, with music, because I myself am known for making star-studded films, a lot of celebrity, but he did not react to any of my suggestions. I think he had a clear idea of what kind of imagery he wanted to bring to the screen. And so the cast members, the music all had to fit what he had premeditated in his mind. And I said, how about this guy? How about this person? But he said no. And not many international people knew Issei Ogata back then. He was kind of like a stage performance actor, and also how we see him in this film was quite a departure from how we knew him back in those days. And so, yes, we showed him some footage of Issei Ogata, and then he nodded. So when it comes to casting, we usually prepare what we can as best as we can, but Edward, the director, did not really nod to any of our suggestions, and these two children that we cast in the film, that was his choice, that was the director's choice. But actually, I want to ask Mr. Ishikawa a question here when it comes to casting. When we started production in Taipei, well, I personally don't like production itself because the producer really has nothing to do on set. All we can do is bring them food and snacks. Once production starts, you can pass the baton over to the director. But once production starts, I think I returned from Taipei, and then there was a call from the director, and the director said, "Come back." And usually that means an accident has happened. When everything's going smooth, the producer is left alone. But when something happens, the producer is summoned, and I thought maybe there are budgeting issues. And when I went back to Taipei, what happened was this. There was this video or a VHS tape. They were 1 week into production, so maybe he had rushes in this VHS tape. And so he was like, "What do you think, producer?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess it's okay. That's all I could really offer. I can't say no to my director." And I thought, okay, that's good. But he said, no, this doesn't work. And I thought, I wonder, what should I do with this? And what happened after that was there was another video, and Edward said, "Can you look at this too?" And so then if you've seen the film, you know the actress who played Tintin. She
So that's actually the heroine of the film, and then there was someone around the same age who was acting in front of the camera, and then I saw it, and then he asked how I thought about it, and I said, yeah, it looks good. And then, they're already a week into the production, and then they changed the heroine. Oh, the actress? Yes. And then in Japan, that would be forbidden. Producers will not allow it. So, and then I'm sure, Edward had said hello to the parents of the child actor who was acting as the heroine, but he said, no, she's not working. But he's the one who selected that first girl as well. I mean, if it was me who had selected her, then we could have given some kind of an excuse, but it was Edward himself that selected the first girl as well. And then they went through the whole process of finding a new Tintin, yes. And then he found that girl, and then they did a test, and then the director said, with her, we can do this, he said. And then I didn't really get it. I just kept apologizing to the first girl. And then I asked why the first girl didn't work. And then maybe I shouldn't be saying this in my position, but he said, we're aiming to get a Palme d'Or, the best film in Cannes. And then he went on to say, with the first girl, we can't go to Cannes. We can't win an award there, he said. And then when he said that to me, well, I wasn't sure of the magnitude of this topics, so I thought, well, he must be right. And then you usually don't find a new cast member halfway through, right? And then you let him do that? I would be too scared to say that to my producer. Well, so the positive side of this is that, and then he's the one who wrote the script as well, so he already had the vision in his mind. And then when he got into the production, he realized that there was discrepancy between the visual that he had envisioned in his mind and the girl that he saw in front of him. I get that, but I thought, well, you could have said that a little earlier. But I kind of get that, because sometimes you can't tell until you start shooting. But they did a test, so, I mean, had they been able to tell me that after the test, it would have been better. But for the lack of a better expression, when it comes to films, he was the kind of person who never compromised. And then I just had a series of compromises myself. Yes. And then for him, he needed to have like distant shots. And then maybe from the close-ups, it could work. But the way the actors and actresses move, the way they do their gestures, sometimes I feel like it's not working. And then that's the type of thing that you only realize when you're on set during the production. I see. So it could be the way she carried herself. And then he did say, it was the way she carried herself, or, her ambience. And I thought, honestly speaking, I didn't care. But the moment he said, we can't go to Cannes with her, I said, okay, so we need to find another person. And then there's only one reality we have, which is that we use another child actor. And then we ended up making a film that are getting watched 25 years later. So we had many instances like that with him, actually. And then the job of the producer is to be patient. It's really about having that patience, because if you snap every time, then it wouldn't work. And then with Wong Kar-wai, director Wong Kar-wai, I had that experience, and then he's quite adamant as well. Yes, and then I thought, well, the hurdle is a little too high for me to make a film with him, I thought. So he really put his life into it. And then, he did pass away already, but he really put his soul into every cut, every scene he directed. And then I do understand that I also took part in this project, but it was him who put his soul into it. And then that's why he's so well received in different parts of the world. I mean, I'm not recommending you to do the same, but if I make a film with you, maybe I can do that to you. But looking back and hearing what you just said, at that time, I don't think we had such a strong concept of having co-production with other countries. And then I don't think a lot of foreign crew would come to Japan and shoot. And then, director Edward Yan will place his cameras in extraordinary positions. And then I believe that maybe that could have caused friction with the Japanese crew. Well, there was barely any Japanese crew members. It was mostly Taiwanese crew. So I think that made it easier. And then when I do co-production with places like Korea or Hong Kong, the styles are different. And their values for shooting are different. The way they spend their time is different as well. So in Japan, let's say that you do location scouting a day before and then you start shooting the next day. But director Edward Yan will say, well, okay, so this is how I felt yesterday, but I feel different today. Is that like that for you, director? But I guess that could happen to a director. Sometimes he agrees to a certain scenery one day, but he wouldn't like it the next day. But in Japan, that wouldn't happen usually. Whatever you decided on, you will stick to it, but that wasn't the case. And then they would prioritize his vision that will come that day. It's tough, isn't it? And then I would just say, oh, okay, I understand. So the reason why I said, let's make a film together to Edward Yan for the first time we met, at that time, the Taiwanese films were quite different. And then there aren't that many entertainment elements to the films or to. And then I worked with Shunji Wai on Swallowtail, and then we worked with a production company called Scala. And then it's basically business. I mean, it's commercial business. But for Edward Yan, for him, it's really about making great films by putting his soul into it. So the visual and novels are different, but his passion and his obsession was too strong sometimes. And then people around him will say, well, let's make it a commercial success. But he would reply by saying, well, I wouldn't know if this is going to be a commercial success unless I finish this film. So in Taiwan at that time, there weren't so many producers in Taiwan who would be willing to make a film with him. And that I was lucky in that sense because I could say, let's go to Cannes together with him. He's such a great director, but within the Taiwanese film industry, I believe that he didn't have that much freedom to make films at that time. So I flew in from Japan and I said, let's make a film together. And then he agreed to it, probably because of that circumstances. And the contribution of Pony Canyon was very big, I assume, yes. So director Shunji Wai was there. And then they probably said that they were willing to fund it because director Iwai would take part of it. And then when he pulled out, about half of the fundraisers were gone. So Pony Canyon and Hakodo were the only two companies that stayed. And then we made a film with them. So, and then that was in the 90s. still. So in Japan, we still had some money to make films. And then after that, we got into a bleaker situation, I believe, financially. I mean, there's director Kawai Swallowtail. So I believe that we started to produce films of a larger scale with different styles. So for me, I was watching what was happening in the industry, thinking that the era of hopes had started. So my filmmaking, or being a producer of filmmaking, started with Nankyoku Monogatari. And then that was Antarctica, and then for Edward Yan, he even changed the protagonist actress, and then I couldn't go back and to the office and come to an alignment with other stakeholders, and that was the case for Antarctica as well. So when the producer hears something from their director, you need to align with the director, but nowadays it's quite difficult to align with directors in that way.
If I were to be able to team up with a director like you, Mr. Ishikawa, that would be great. But when you think about Edward Yang's work, and when it comes to casting children, you want to do something in the editing room just in case, or shoot close-ups. I would think in that way, but the fact that he placed the camera, did these long takes and long shots, and when you see the actors responding to that and answering to that, it's quite a feat, I think. And so if that kind of director says, I want to change my lead actress, then yeah, you would say yes. Well, if only he had warned me a little bit more in advance. We do have to move on into the Q&A section. I felt like we were only talking 20 minutes. I have so many reference material to show you, but... Okay, so we are going to open the floor to questions. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Nobody? Okay, the gentleman or the lady behind in the room. Thank you very much for that wonderful talk session. So my question is to Kawai-san. Mr. Kawai, when you went to Cannes, and it was quite a feat for a Japanese production team to do that. Now that all of these years have gone by and so many Japanese films have ventured into the Cannes Film Festival, back then, in the year 2000, or when you look at how the filmmaking environment has changed over the past decades, or if there are still areas which we should improve in this industry, what would that be? Well, Berlin, Venice are the other two festivals that I have had the experience of participating in, but up until then, but back in 2000, Cannes was a first feat for me. And a lot of people gave me advice, and there was a sense of, when I brought this film to the Cannes Film Festival, one thing that I thought was that it's like the Olympics for filmmakers, isn't it? Indeed. For me, I would say that, for example, if you were to win the Palme d'Or, a producer would be satisfied, but all the filmmakers are like, they're so ambitious. They're like, next year, let's aim for next year again, and so forth. Or an award winner will make the next film with a view to entering it into the Cannes Film Festival again. And it is that kind of festival with those kind of figures. This was a revelation to me, and as we were all walking the red carpet, everybody, when you look at their faces, everybody looks like they think they're going to win the Palme d'Or. There was that kind of energy. And it was quite shocking. I didn't think it did not match my disposition well in that respect. It was so too much energy in that sense. But a lot of things have not changed. Or Mr. Ishikawa, Mr. Koreeda, you are one of such filmmaker who will aim for the competition, of course. And Koreeda-san has already made his way into the competition section. I think there, in terms of the attitude of filmmakers in Japan, I don't think there has been much change. But when it comes to those prizes at Cannes Film Festival, there's also the market part. And it's so vibrant, the market section of Cannes. And that was also a revelation. I went almost with a tourist mindset, but I could see how, for example, winning an award opens doors to global representation, global distribution, and everybody was very, very passionate about that. I wasn't as passionate or strategic of a producer, but everybody is very, very ambitious, very, very hopeful indeed. There's the business side, there's the distribution side of filmmaking to think about. With American films, of course, that is all planned in advance as to how many prints you're going to show, how many screens you're going to show the film on, and so forth. Back in those days, with me, it was just whimsical hope as to let's hope we get an award and so forth. Yes, everything is pre-planned right now. When people make their announcement at the markets, they say things like, we are going into production with a view to participate in Cannes International Film Festival next year and so forth, yes. When you listen to pitches and, for example, I think one thing is you don't have to really limit your possibilities to Japanese filmmaking with Japanese figures. Venturing into the international field would be great, and I think people are starting to do that very actively. And in the market section as well, I think, for example, there was Pon Jin-ho's Paradise. I mean, there are big potential sleepers like that. And if there are such films that emerge like that, that would be great, I think. And my question is also, I have also a question to Mr. Ishikawa. Can you answer to the same question? Well, I think Japanese film is becoming more and more energized, invigorated. This year's Cannes Film Festival, there were quite a few Japanese films in competition, and I think Japanese film is starting to garner attention again. Relatively speaking, I think there's more attention towards Japanese filmmaking in comparison to Korean films. So I think as we have these tailwinds, I think we should march forth. This was something that I felt during Cannes Film Festival this year. Yi is indeed, I think it's a very Japanese film. It's not a Taiwanese film in my mind. If it looks like a Taiwanese film, but it is actually essentially a Japanese film wrapped in a Taiwanese package. I think you did something very progressive in that respect. Like it's something like Perfect Days. The director is a German, but it's a Japanese film. Like, for example, Substance is actually a Japanese film. Many people don't know this. So nationalities of films are becoming very much more obscure. People don't know which country produced which film. All of the films are becoming international co-productions. So this is something that Japanese filmmakers should know. There are many, for example, Southeast Asian financiers or Korean who want to invest in Japanese films. There are many financiers who are non-Korean who want to invest in Korean filmmakers. And I think film festivals like these are a great juncture for all of these figures to converge. Yes, indeed. When it comes to film festivals, I think, for example, with my film, because I was able to get Polish financing, for example, that was great. But I think there are still challenges that we have to overcome. For example, the production committee or the co-production system. It doesn't match well with the international co-production system. So there are many compromises we have to make in the production side. I hope that the system starts working. It's much more becomes much more accessible. It's not to negate the benefits we get from a film committee system, but I think that there are drawbacks to it, many drawbacks to it, in fact. But it's that they are not an incorporated entity. And it creates a lot of legal issues, I think. And it's very unclear where the responsibility lies. You have a lead entity in that production committee, but it's like, who is really at the helm of this production committee? It's very unclear. We all say that the leader of the production committee is supposed to be so-and-so, is supposed to call the shots and what, but it's really unclear as to where the accountability lies, and that co-production committee leader, what we call kanji, for example, is sometimes disbands after 2 or 3 years. There's these kind of problems that we have to deal with. And production committees have to work on a consensus basis, which is also very troublesome, and it doesn't mesh well with international co-production systems. So these are the bottlenecks that we have to deal with. Back in those days, for example, if a film was made a decade ago and all of those people who were part of the production are not in the industry anymore, then when legal issues arise, you're at a loss as to who you have to contact, for example. So in order to make a film that has longevity, 10-year, 25-year, 50-year longevity, it has to be such a film that you are able to, for example, screen at a film festival 25 years hence. It has to be a system that is able to support that kind of sustainability of a single film. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, and so we have to move on to the photo call.